Hola, somos los Pichy Boys y bienvenidos a otra emisión de nuestro podcast Somos los Pichy Boys. Hoy tenemos un invitado especial, una personalidad que se ha convertido en alguien bastante controversial en los últimos tiempos y nos ha dado el honor de visitar nuestro podcast para comentarnos un poco de los tiempos que está viviendo, de la situación en la que se encuentra y hablar también un poco de quién es, qué representa su organización y las cosas que están pasando. En Somos los Pichy Boys, Enrique Tarrio. Bienvenido, Enrique.
Bienvenido.
Bueno, gusto por tenerme.
Gracias, gracias.
Thank you, guys.
Eres el chairman de los Proud Boys.
El International Chairman de los Proud Boys.
Ok, para las personas que no conocen los Proud Boys, ¿qué son los Proud Boys?
Básicamente, te lo voy a decir en inglés y
Dale, tranquilo.
you translate. Los Proud Boys son un drinking club with a patriot problem.
Ok,
Instead of reverse. Somos un club de hombres
ok.
que salimos una vez al mes con los hermanos a la barra para salir de la casa. Y no sé qué es muy controversial de los Proud Boys cuando estás hablando de un grupo de muchachos that love their country. The Proud Boys was started as a joke. Fue un chiste.
Okay.
En un show, un podcast como este. No estaba supuesto salir del viernes, that Friday that we're supposed to meet all together. It wasn't supposed to go past that point. Right? And it became a bar joke, and we're not much of a joke anymore.
No.
Cuando la gente dice que nosotros somos controversial, no entiendo por qué tener I don't know why having American values is controversial. Y sé que ustedes son eran un gran proponent for the issues that we're having in Cuba.
Yeah.
Right? And that's very important. Y hay mucha gente que te dicen, bueno, we should care more about what's happening here. And I agree with them. I think that we should care, but that doesn't mean that we don't care of what's happening over there. But at the same time, that's what we care for. That's what our focus is our communities, the school board meetings, local elections, our mayor, our state reps, things like that. But I guess what causes controversy, lo que da controversia es lo que hacemos en forma de security when we go to Trump rallies.
Okay.
Right? When we go to these conservative events, we fight back. We've always fought back, and we're not afraid to fight back.
When you say you fight back, what does exactly you mean?
It doesn't necessarily just mean physically,
Okay.
right? Although we're not afraid to defend ourselves, it means fight back. For many years, the conservative party, the Republican Party that enjoys here in South Florida, enjoys a huge community support by the Cuban American community, was on life support. They didn't fight back. We told them the issues. They didn't listen to the elected officials. And what ended up happening is in 2016, there's this electricity that happened. And that electricity was Donald J. Trump. Now, you don't have to agree with everything that he says, because I don't. I sure as hell don't. I support him 100% as a president. But it all started when Hillary Clinton called us a basket of deplorables, deplorable human beings. And although we took that for ourselves as a joke, they actually meant that we were deplorable human beings. They were saying that. Mm-hmm. And that started the trend of dehumanizing, deplatforming. I told you guys off camera. I said, you guys are very brave for having me on.
I mean, we want to give everybody a voice. Por una de las cosas que nosotros estamos luchando por la libertad en nuestro país, que es Cuba, es que queremos que todos los cubanos sean libres de hablar en el mundo. Estamos en los Estados Unidos en este momento. Si tenemos la oportunidad de darle voz también a una persona que cuente su historia y utilice nuestra plataforma, también es bienvenido. Por eso eres bienvenido aquí a Somos los Pichy Boys. Una pregunta, ¿eres cubano nacido en Cuba o naciste acá en Miami?
Nací aquí en Miami, eso es porque el español mío no es
tan
top of the line.
Not 100%.
Not 100%. It is my first language.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I learned first. But when it comes to interviews and things like that, it's...
Te sientes más cómodo.
My world, mi mundo es la política.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things that I know that's in English that I can't translate in Spanish.
Yo quería preguntarte cuándo se fundó los Proud Boys y qué necesita una persona para convertirse en un Proud Boy. Por ejemplo, ¿cuál es el requisito que tú tienes que tener para convertirte en un Proud Boy?
Nosotros empezamos en junio del 2016.
Uh-huh.
Empezamos como un joke at the bar. Gavin McGinnis was trying to get one of his interns laid. He was a 24-year-old virgin. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, we're going to start a club. We're going to go to the bar on Friday night. What are we going to call it on that Friday? What are we going to call it? And Gavin's like, we're going to call it the Proud Boys. Okay, what are these Proud Boys about and how do you join? La pregunta que me hiciste. Mm-hmm. Para ser un Proud Boy no tiene que ser Republican. You don't have to be Democrat. You don't have to be Libertarian. We don't care what your political beliefs have no place.
No es necesariamente ser republicano para ser un Proud Boy.
No.
Eso es algo.
No.
Okay.
You have to believe, te lo digo en inglés,
okay.
You have to believe that the West is the best. That Western civilization, specifically America, is the best country in the world. Right, which it is. In many other avenues, it might not be, like our incarceration rates. Mm-hmm. You know, but you have to believe that the West is the best. And it's crazy in 2021 that I have to say this, but you have to be born a male.
Okay.
You know, because I don't know how that's confusing. I don't understand how people don't understand. You have to be born a male.
Okay. I have a question. Many people say that you guys are violent, are racist, and all that stuff. Why do you think they think that? But why do they believe this is a racist, white supremacist organization?
So there's two things that you said there, and there's many other things that they call us: white supremacist, fascist, all sorts of things. One thing I'm happy that they don't call me is a communist or a socialist. Let's start with the first thing you said: violence.
Yeah. There's
some truth to it. Because in self-defense, there's violence. We will never start an issue. You will never see us go protest somebody. Like if they're having a protest, we won't go counter-protest. We'll protest something. We'll protest the government. We'll protest police brutality. We'll protest things that we feel are unconstitutional and unfair. But you'll never see us go protest people. When we throw an event together or a protest together, we get counter-protested. And it's usually by Antifa groups.
Okay.
Right? They've thrown glass bottles of urine at me, bags of feces, okay, spit, punched, I mean, all sorts of things. And to think, as a man, that you're just going to sit back and take it, we're not. You know, because everybody says, oh, turn the other cheek. You know, that's a very religious thing to do. And, you know, maybe it might work out for somebody. It doesn't work out for us. Because we're not going to turn the other cheek. So as far as violence goes, I'd say maybe that's semi-true. Okay. We believe in self-defense. When it comes to the racism thing, I find that hilarious. We don't care what color you are. When you put in an application to become a brother, there's not a skin tone chart where you're like, okay, well, you're too dark.
Yeah.
We don't ask you what your religion is. We don't ask what your cultural background is. We just ask you, do you sit well with these values? And they're basically American values. Our tenets are very basic. Our first and second one goes with the First and Second Amendment of the Constitution, right? And we're absolutists when it comes to that. I don't care if you're a communist. I don't care if you're a fascist, okay? We believe in free speech. Now, you can't be a communist or a fascist and be part of our organization, but we do believe in the free speech. Because to me, communism and fascism are the same exact thing. They're just a different flavor of authoritarianism, okay? Because we could say Hitler, Stalin, Mao, Castro, they're all the same thing. It's just a different flavor.
Yeah.
Different flavors of authority. So when they call us fascist, again, I've already answered that. We don't believe in authoritarian government. We believe in venerating the housewife. We get called misogynist for that, right? That we put women below. That's not true. If my woman, by her own free will, wants to be a career woman, a business owner, she wants to work as a real estate agent, that's her choice, free will. I have no say in that. But the moment that woman comes home and says, I'm tired of this, I want to stay home and I want to bake cookies. You know whose job it is as a man to put up and shut up? Yours. You're supposed to put that woman on a pedestal. Right now, you are the provider in the house because she decided she wanted to stay home. And we don't believe in it in reverse. As a man, get out and work.
As a personal story, when I first heard, la primera que escuché sobre los Proud Boys,
Sí.
yo no conocía el grupo, no sabía nada del grupo. Y entonces la información que me llega a mí es que esto es un grupo de extrema derecha, supremacista blanco, que sabe que son unos tipos que son unos racistas del carajo, y etcétera, etcétera. Y cuando entro a ver, sales tú, sale una foto tuya, que eras el que estaba liderando el grupo, y un cubano. Y digo, coño, esta gente... Enrique no es un rubio de 6 pies, 2 ojos verdes,
nacido en
Iowa. Este es un cubanazo de la 40 aquí que comía pastelito en la carreta.
Ahora mismo vine de comer pastelito.
Exactamente lo que digo. Hay mucha información allá afuera en los medios que se está manejando que va en contra de tu organización y de lo que ustedes piensan y representan. ¿Por qué tú piensas que es esto? Yo he leído, incluso lo leí en el Washington Post haciendo fue en Reuters, haciendo estudiando para esta entrevista, que incluso te acusan de ser informante del FBI.
Yes.
¿Por qué todo esto?
In the most simplest answer I could give you, it's because we're a threat. We're a threat to their narrative. We're a threat to the white supremacists, the boogeyman, the extremism, the terrorism that's going on in America today. Here in my South Florida chapter, 90% of the membership are Cuban American. But like you said, in Iowa, I don't expect there to be too many Cuban Americans in Iowa. But when you ask, why is it that, these stories, they sensationalize these stories, and it's very simple. It's money. Okay? We make a great story. We make a great boogeyman because the little girl in the corner selling lemonade at the lemonade stand that probably made $1,000 in a day, that's not a story. Nobody's going to click on that. Obviously, the FBI informant story, that's a great hit. He leads the group.
I saw in a couple of pages that they were assuring that you were an informant.
Yes. So that's a mixture of 3 different stories. Okay. I was a DOD contractor for about 12 years. I got arrested by the FBI in 2012 for selling diabetic test strips, Cuban medical stuff, Miami. It starts ringing a bell. And then the third part of the story is that when I became the Proud Boys leader, right? When we go to these rallies, we have really good parties. And people love crashing those parties. Antifa, BLM, they love crashing our parties. So I get death threats on a regular basis. The guys get death threats. And when we put these events together, there's people that we had a person that said that they were going to do an acid attack on us in Washington, D.C. back in 2018. And this is a normal occurrence. So what do? We look to our first responders. I contact police and I'm like, hey, this is our marching route. We're going to be in town. This is our permit if we hold a permit. Because just in case people don't know, you don't need a permit to protest. Yeah. And when we get out of state threats, we contact the FBI.
Okay.
Right? Because that's the only way. The local police can't do anything when it's across state lines. So yes, we work with local law enforcement and the FBI when we go do local events. It's because we can't host a local event. I can't go flag wave. I mean, you could do it here in Miami on Bird Road, like I've done it since 2012. But when you go to Portland, people don't know this. We're stuck in a bubble here in Miami. Miami is a very unique city, right? But when you go to Portland, I can't wear a shirt with an American flag on it. I get kicked out of the bar You can't wear a MAGA hat in Portland. You're going to get your ass beat. You know, we're living in a bubble and we're not understanding what's going on in the country. You know, and I appreciate now if whether you like Donald Trump or not, there's something that he's done that's been amazing. And he's woken people up. Now people know who their congressmen are. Now people know who their local state rep are, who their mayor is. He's brought information to the front. He's brought those issues to the front, whether you like them or not, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. You're more involved now, and that I'm happy for. And those people that counter us, specifically BLM, I have no sympathy for Antifa at all. My family, the reason why my grandfather came here when Castro and Che Guevara's forces were coming and sweeping the island from the West Coast to the East Coast, they found my one of my family members' farms. They knocked on the door because they wanted to use the farm as a base, and they said no. They went directly to the tree line to tell Che Guevara himself what had happened. They went back into the house. They put the 2 adult males out of the house. They put them on their knees, tied their hands behind their backs, and shot them in the back of the head and executed them.
Your family.
Yeah. And that's why my grandfather is here. So excuse me for trying to fight back and not have that come here into the United States. And as fervent as some people are, and I like I said in the beginning, I know it's important to fight for Cuba, but people don't know the shit that's going on here. Excuse my language.
It's all right.
Yeah.
We have political prisoners currently held. No charges of violence, no charges of breaking anything. They didn't steal anything going into the Capitol. I have 7 guys that are stuck in solitary confinement for walking in and out of the Capitol of the United States. What they did to me, what I have to go do on Monday, that's very short. I'm only going to be gone for 5 months, but it's a misdemeanor. If they can throw the book at me for a misdemeanor, these guys, what are they going to do to them? Because they're not targeted for what they did. They're targeted for who they are. And yeah, we need to worry about our family members over there. But if we don't start worrying about things that are happening here, there's nowhere else to flee. There's nowhere else to go.
¿Por qué te van a encarcelar en la próxima semana? Para las personas que no saben cuáles son los cargos, igual han habido muchas especulaciones. Unos dicen que fue porque quemaste el banner de BLM, otros porque andabas con unos cargadores de high capacity en DC. Exactamente por qué se te está acusando y por qué vas a ir a prisión.
Por esas 2 cosas.
Okay.
El primero fue quemar un banner de BLM.
Que se robaron de una iglesia, pero no fuiste tú el que te lo llevaste.
No sabemos quién se lo llevó,
Okay.
pero vino un banner de BLM. Estaba en el piso, en el medio de la calle. No estaba delante de la iglesia. I didn't know where it came from.
Washington Post publicó que se habían robado el banner. Exactamente, dicen que tú no fuiste el que te llevaste el banner, que unas personas que los habían visto ustedes en el jardín al lado de la iglesia. Se habían robado el banner y entonces tú fuiste el que con otro grupo que llevaste el banner y por eso que se te está acusando. Porque era parte de algo histórico de la iglesia, dicen.
So, let's be honest.
Okay.
Destruction of property is wrong. You shouldn't take somebody's stuff and destroy it. You shouldn't take somebody's stuff to begin with.
At all.
And even if it comes from a church, even worse. Stay away from it. But let's be honest. That happens in DC every day. And I'm not telling you that it's not wrong what I did, because I pled guilty. But to think that I got arrested the way that I did, and I'll go into details on that now, wasn't because it was from a church. It wasn't because it was property. I got arrested for 2 things. I got arrested because that banner says Black Lives Matter. And I got arrested for who I am. Because that's a misdemeanor. Under $1,000 damage. I mean, how much can you spend on a banner? It's less than $150 for a banner of that size. I know them because I print them all the time. And I put them on the highways. But the message is what they wanted to do. So what did they do? The very next day after that banner was burnt, the FBI Washington field office and the DC Metropolitan Police put out a tweet that they're looking for these individuals, and they put up a whole bunch of pictures of Proud Boys that weren't even there. They weren't even close to the banner. And they said that they were investigating this as a hate crime. So I got on my podcast the next day and I said, I did it. I burnt the banner. Oh, a warrant was issued for my arrest on December 19th. I knew that if I went back to DC, I'd be arrested. But I knew that there was so much at stake that I couldn't not go back to DC, and I was willing to face my charges. So I flew into DC on January 4th. Okay. The magazine, we'll talk about the magazines, but that hasn't happened. Okay. Because I knew that DC's a no bail state. I get arrested January 4th. On January 5th, I'm out, and I could be with my guys out in January 6th. Not the January 6th that we know of today, the January 6th that we thought we were just going to go hang out, listen to the president speak, and go home. So as soon as I got into the airport, I get picked up like I was Noriega for a misdemeanor. They stopped in my Uber. They stopped the entire highway. SRT and the SWAT team came out with their ARs pointing at the vehicle for a misdemeanor. That's just one step above jaywalking.
That Uber driver more has been like,
oh yeah, no, that was a funny experience. He's like, hey, I think the president of the United States is coming. And I already knew what was going on. Yeah. I'm like, it's not for the president of the United States. He's like, what did you do? Like that. And I was like, let's not start, dude. Please, let's not start. And he wasn't pulling over. That's another thing. He just kept driving. I'm like, listen, dude, pull over. Oh, there's a freaking tank behind us. You might want to pull over. Yeah. Okay. They're going to shoot out your tires. So they came and they picked me up. And unfortunately, I had two empty, let's not call them high capacity magazines, because I get aggravated.
Or that 30 rounds?
Not from you guys, but like other people that are like, oh, they're high capacity. They're 30 round magazines. 30 round magazines. When you buy an AR, it comes with a 30 round mag. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, I always talk crap about California ARs and how they are structured. Uh-huh. Well, California, their ninth circuit just overturned the high capacity magazine ban. Right. So it's even legal in California. So one of the only districts in the United States is this little tiny district that it's illegal to have magazines over 30 rounds. But unfortunately, that's the law. That's the law.
But why do you have that with you?
I sell them on, here's another thing. I sell them on the site. I engrave them.
Okay.
Right. I have a fiber laser, and I engrave, like if you have your company logo, we could put Sharpline Realty on your mags. Although I'm not dealing with mags anymore.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with mags anymore.
Lesson learned.
But it was for one of the guys that I was gonna give it to them. Okay. There's no ammo in them. They were still inside the bag.
Okay.
You know, and I admit I did something wrong. I destroyed somebody's property.
Okay.
But the fact that they're prosecuting me selectively because of the message that was burned is a violation of my First Amendment rights. And then put that together with the fact that you're putting me in jail for something that's legal, and the judge said it, it's legal across the country, is a violation of my Second Amendment rights. The judge in my case sentenced me 3 times. As a judge, the most basic thing that you're supposed to know is the person in front of you that you are judging, what they're being charged with. That's the most basic part of a judge. After that, you don't have to care about the details. Guilty, not guilty. You're the judge. Tell me why 6 months is the maximum I could have gotten. Tell me why that judge, when he went to sentence me, he didn't want to hear about my character witnesses. He didn't care about character witnesses. We heard from the church. We heard the sob story from the church. I'm sorry. I apologize for burning your banner. But when it came to my character witness, nobody got to hear him. The judge sentenced me originally to about 1.5 years in jail. Right? And the prosecutor, before my defense attorney was able to raise his hand, the prosecutor goes ahead and is like, excuse, judge, you can't do that. It's too much. He thought I was being charged with a felony, right? Because I had pled out to 2 misdemeanors. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. Let's give you 8 months. The prosecutor again, well, judge, you can't do that. It's an illegal sentence. And he goes,
regalando años ahí por gusto,
yeah. Y no sabía, él no sabía
Ni lo que
los
estaba...
cargos. Los cargos, lo más básico es para el judge, para saber qué son los cargos.
Ajá.
He wanted to throw the book at me from the beginning.
That's it. Entraste y dale, 20 años preso. Vamos a fusilarlo mañana.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Te hago una pregunta. Do you think hubieses recibido este tratamiento si la administración fuera otra? Si, por ejemplo, hubiese estado President Trump in power, do you think you would have gotten this hard on you, these people?
Yes. Because here's something that people don't understand. The president of the United States affects our lives in a very small way. Our local politicians, that's why I keep saying local politics is where it's at. Because that problem that they have in D.C. is a problem that's been embedded for a long time. Everybody that's in that system, liberal, socialist, left-wing, and they think that continuously legislating, they want power. They continuously want power, and they continuously make new laws, more oppressive laws. So when I tell you that, we got to fight for this country because of what's going on, so we won't turn it into that, you got censorship. You might get censored for this, for just having me on. I don't know if I've said anything offensive. I apologize in advance if I've said anything offensive. I don't think I have. No. But because of who I am, you might get banned for being here.
We have been asking you really tough questions too. We haven't been playing softball with you either.
And I don't like softball questions. We don't get anywhere like that.
We want people to know the truth. We want people to know who you are and to clarify las cosas que se dicen sobre ti también.
Enrique, dijiste hace un ratico que no quisieras que pasara aquí lo que pasa en Cuba y que está pasando. Dijiste que aquí también hay presos políticos y que están sucediendo esas cosas que no te gustan. Obviamente a nadie le gustan. Yeah. ¿Crees tú que este país pudiese convertirse en algo parecido a Cuba en un futuro si sigue como va o cómo tú lo ves?
I wish I could give you better news. I don't know how to fix these issues. I know that I'm going to die trying or be imprisoned trying. But when you ask if I see this becoming it, yeah, it's very easy. It's because of the human factor, right? People like to think in the left-right scale. At the far left is Stalin. At the far right is Hitler, Mussolini. Mm. At the very center of it, it's a very bad, there's a misconception of this word, and it's called democracy. A democracy is oppressive because 51% of the people can oppress the 49%, but the same thing, 90% of the people can oppress 10% of the people. The rule of law is the only thing that stops that from happening. The Constitution of the United States isn't about laws towards us. It's laws to what the government cannot do to us, what our rights are. But those things have been eroded little by little. Free speech. Oh, I don't like Nazis. I don't like Nazis either. But if they want to march down the street and look like a bunch of idiots, a bunch of retards, right, marching down the street with a swastika, let them do it. I want to laugh. If they want to march with a Che Guevara, you know how many people I see with Che Guevara shirts?
Everywhere.
I'm dying. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. I've never said anything to them because it's their freedom of speech and I respect it, right? I find it distasteful and disgusting and it angers me inside to see it. But I know that at the moment that I do something and I say something to that person, right? Because I have the freedom of speech too to tell them, hey, you're an a-hole, right? But I can't set that example because a politician's going to want to come in and go, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to ban Che Guevara shirts. And although it seems cool, it's the snowball effect. What's next?
What's next?
Mm-hmm. Who's behind saying, we'll talk about let's not, like masks and stuff like that. It's not fear. I think COVID is real. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm more fearful of the government overreach because of these issues. That's what scares me. That people don't see into the future. We forget where we came from. We're so far from that original founding principle that we're losing it, right? I've always been political. My first campaign that I worked was the second Bush term. I regret it. But I've never heard in those years of listening in, I've never heard of socialism being preached openly in the Capitol, in the halls of Congress. Now we have members of Congress on the left that are sitting there preaching it like it's oh no, it's smart. It's not socialism. They don't hear that anymore. Actually, it's not socialism. It's Democrat. You're not even hearing that anymore. They've gotten so bold and so brave that, dude, silencing is a thing. I can't have a bank account. I don't know if you researched that. My bank accounts are closed. I can't have a credit card processor. You know how you guys process payments for whatever it is that you do? I can't imagine they take you off that entire system. There's 5 banks in the United States that run that entire system. I'm persona non grata on all 5 of them. Wow. Okay? I can't use Cash App. I can't use PayPal. I can't use Coinbase. I can't use Airbnb. So Uber Eats, Lyft, I could go on for a long time.
Te están tratando como si fueras un terrorista, entonces.
Yes. And what have I done? What have I done that's terroristic? Burn a banner? Okay.
Te están tratando como si fueras un terrorista por quemar un cartel, básicamente, de lo que estamos hablando.
Que es por lo que en realidad se te ha juzgado. O sea, uno aquí es inocente hasta que no se pruebe lo contrario y tú eres lo que dice el juez. El juez ha dicho que tú literalmente vas preso por quemar un cartel. Y por eso te están tratando como un terrorista que no tiene ni tarjetas de crédito, ni ningún banco te acepta. O sea,
a born American. Okay,
born American. I was a DoD contractor for 12 years. I made really good money. Okay, I traveled the world. I got to do things that people only dream of. Those contracts were canceled because of my political activism. After that, everything went downhill. I sell T-shirts right now. Okay. I haven't sold on my website. I haven't been able to process a transaction in 6 weeks. Okay. But I will tell you one thing. I made a lot more money before and life was a lot more comfortable before. I wasn't facing jail time before, you know, and I am happier now than I was before because I feel that I'm living with purpose.
Cuando vayas a pasarte estos meses en la cárcel, ¿quién va a estar a cargo de los Proud Boys? Who's going to be the chairman?
The Proud Boys don't actually really need
a leader,
a leader right now. Okay. We're a very autonomous organization. Every chapter is different. Like I said, our South Florida chapter is basically the Cuban chapter. Now, I'm not going to openly admit there might be a chapter in Cuba. I don't know. I don't know everything. But we have chapters all over the globe: Israel, UK, Hong Kong, Japan, Australia, Brazil, Mexico, Puerto Rico. We're all over the place. The organization doesn't need anybody to survive. It's survived on its own for a long time. The beautiful part about my organization is that it's very organic. We don't have a central focus, like a Second Amendment group or a militia. They're very focused on what their goals are. An anti-abortion group is anti-abortion. Us, the only thing that we're here to do is make better men. How do you make better men? You make better brothers, better husbands, better fathers, better neighbors, better sons, better uncles. That's all it is. Your interpretation of it as a Proud Boy is up to you. You don't have to be Republican. You don't have to be Democrat. You don't have to be whatever. Okay, you don't have to be...
Todo el mundo is welcome to the Proud Boys, even Democrats,
yes.
for example.
Yes.
Si tú eres Democrat y tú quieres ser un Proud Boy, you can be a Proud Boy.
Unless you don't have a penis.
Okay.
That's really important.
Okay.
It's necessary parts.
Oye, el grupo es solamente hombres.
It's only men. I mean, there is a women's group. They're a lot more private, but they run their own show. We run our own show.
Pero bueno, es que el nombre lo dice, Proud Boys.
Yes.
O sea, it's about boys.
Yeah. Okay. It's a boys club. It's a drinking club.
Empezó como un club de amigos que iban a tomar cerveza y hablar de problemas que le interesaban del país.
Y el día que eso cambió fue en enero 20 del 2017. Durante la inauguration, nosotros salimos for the night to party, right? To celebrate this new president that came in. And when we left, we get a bottle of piss thrown at us. And we dared to fight back that night. We beat the brakes off them, I'll be honest. We made self-defense look like assault. Okay, because we're tired of it. They were burning the city down, they were breaking windows, and we're tired of it. And they screwed around with the wrong dudes. We went and we celebrated that night. We're like, yeah, we had so much fun. Remember, that guy threw the bottle at me. We beat the brakes off of him. And then the next day, the media called us white supremacist terrorists. Trump terrorists is what they called us the next day. And that was an awakening for us. And we're like, okay, there's something wrong here.
Yeah, you realized you were white that night.
I realized I was white.
Yeah, super white.
That day, I'm like, man. My eyes
orgullo.
Started getting lighter.
Sí.
It's like the Hulk, but in reverse.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty white. It just tan.
De acá arriba.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I got a tanning booth, so I don't get called white supremacist, I guess.
Entonces, ustedes, luego que sale el presidente Trump, salen a celebrar, y ya dicen que ustedes son un grupo de supremacistas blancos. Y ahí empezó a cambiar todo. Lo que era un club de muchachos que iban a reunirse a tomar cerveza y a hablar de cosas de hombre, de cosas que hablamos en
camiones, mujeres,
exacto, el deporte, lo que sea. Salen a celebrar que ganó el presidente Trump, que es su derecho y lo puede hacer cualquier americano, estamos en un país libre. Y entonces ya la media los empezó a catalogar como un grupo de supremacistas blancos. Y por ahí empezó
entonces,
a cambiar el rumbo.
De verdad empezó a coger, después de ese día cambió, pero empezó a, it started growing teeth durante Berkeley. Okay. Que iban there were some conservative speakers that were going to go speak at Berkeley, and Antifa came and burned down and caused mayhem. And again, we stood right there front line and we said, that's it. Enough. Up to here. You cross this line, it's done. We have a saying in the Proud Boys, and some people catch it as like this aggressive saying, but when you really think about it, it's not. Can I cuss in here?
Yeah, of course, man.
Fuck around, find out. That's one of our mottos. It's actually our main motto. Okay. In order to find out, you must first fuck around. We will not start something, but we sure as hell will end something. And you got older. You ever seen aquí en La Carreta, like not en La Carreta, in Tropical Park?
Okay.
It's an older crowd holding flags. That happens across the country.
Siempre están ahí.
Siempre están ahí.
Bueno, imagínate que están ahí y viene Antifa to go attack them, and there's not anybody younger they'll assault them. They'll pull their flags out. I mean, it doesn't happen here in Miami, but it does happen across the country. That's why I say we live in a bubble. Miami's a very unique city. We love each other and hate each other at the same time. The Dominicans hate the Puerto Ricans and the Cubans, aquí con los venezolanos. But it is a love. You got me? And people don't understand that from the outside.
Exactly.
So we're very blessed to be in Miami.
You were not in the Capitol on January 6th, right?
No, my arrest didn't allow me to be at the Capitol on the 6th. And I've heard so many conspiracy. Oh, they took you out so you wouldn't be there.
Because there's people that still think that you were in the Capitol, that you were storming the Capitol.
Yeah.
So
I've heard all crazy stories. I did have a White House tour in the morning on December 12th.
Okay.
So the conspiracy theory is that I went to the White House to go meet Trump on December 12th. I burnt the BLM banner at night. Okay. And then Trump gave me orders to attack the Capitol. Right?
Wow.
And that Trump got me arrested on January 4th, so I'd be safe. So it was, and it was proof a couple of weeks ago that Trump didn't have to do anything.
No.
With the January 6th thing.
And as a matter of fact, the FBI came out just a couple of
days. The FBI had to say it. You guys were going to DC to be there. ¿Cuál era la expectativa que había de ese momento? Celebrar, ¿en verdad tú crees que alguien podía overturn la decisión de que Biden era el presidente? ¿Qué estaban haciendo ese grupo ahí? Si me puedes decir. No estuviste, pero bueno, si me puedes decir.
Here, I'll tell you that, my view on that, and I think it's very unique. On November 6th, right, 2 days after the election, I knew that there was nothing that we were going to do to overturn the election. Okay. But we had two marches before January 6th, and it was the Million MAGA March on November 14th and the Million MAGA March on December 12th. That gave me hope because I had never seen a conservative movement. In 2012, I went to the Republican Club meetings and it was oxygen tanks and walkers.
Yeah.
The energy that I saw in November and December coming from Trump supporters is something that gave me hope because I knew that regardless of a Biden presidency, if Biden were to continue to push his left-wing and social ideas, I knew that we could put 1 million protesters in DC at any given moment for the next 4 years. I knew we had a force to be reckoned with as far as protesting and stopping this evil legislation from passing, these evil pieces of legislation from passing. So that gave me hope. But what I didn't see is that needed to be stopped. The government needed to stop that somehow, and the media needed to stop that somehow. How did they do it? I can't tell you exactly because I don't know. There's so much misinformation out there. It makes it very tough. But they did it with January 6th. We knew something was up. Something's fishy with January 6th. Because we usually we'll go to DC with like 1,500 Proud Boys, 2,000 Proud Boys. And on January 6th, there was only 50 Proud Boys. You can't call that an insurrection when a whole bunch of unarmed people walked into the Capitol to take selfies. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I didn't see things that I didn't like. The assault on police officers and things like that. I cannot tell you that that's something that I'm cool with.
I'm as an American, I felt really bad that day.
Yes.
I felt really bad, and I felt really ashamed of what happened on January 6th because of the way it happened. I feel really bad. And that's why I'm asking you, what there were people thinking when they went there, like, pensaban que iban a cambiar algo, pensaban que iban a impedir que saliera Biden de presidente.
I get asked that question a lot, but I counter it with another question, and I ask, and I'm not asking specifically you, and I ask reporters that ask me, and I'm like, why do you think it happened? And their answer is always as, because Trump made this lie up that the election was stolen. That's not why those people were there. We'll go back to that day that Hillary Clinton called
deplorables,
us a basket of deplorables, deplorable human beings. And although, again, it's a joke, for the next 4 years, you demonize us, you deplatformed us, you take us off. Social media is a new public square. I can stand in a corner with a sign and do nothing, and the moment that you guys share something, we get a lot more. You get a lot more reach. Yeah. So it's a very powerful tool. I mean, it's such a powerful tool that the Russians used it to change the election results in 2016.
We're gonna see it with this podcast. If we get censored with this podcast, now we're gonna see what we're talking about.
Yeah. So you allow these cities, you allow these riots to happen. You let cities burn. A friend of mine was murdered in the streets of Portland. Okay. Then you shut down our businesses. You lock us in our house. Okay. Billion-dollar corporations are making billions upon billions of dollars while mom and pop shops like the coffee shop in the corner has had to shut down almost entirely its doors. Then you go ahead and you lock us up and you put us in the gulag and you put us in cages. And people think that, that's because the president lied about the election being stolen. No, that's America pissed off for 5 years. Okay. And CNN asked me this question, if I had any sympathy for the members of Congress or the senators that were in the building that day. And honestly, I can't tell you that I have absolutely no sympathy for them. Because while people, and again, I'm not saying that what happened, some of the things I saw in the Capitol was wrong. It is wrong. But when you send off our fathers, our brothers, and our sons off to a foreign war to die for money because you decided to just check a box and you're cowering under your seat because the people are finally pissed off and they've had enough, I have no sympathy for you. Because while we're here fighting for the next generation, the generation after that, and our great-grandkids, you're sitting there fighting to get reelected. You're using me and my brothers in a reelection bid, and you're sending emails out, help me fix terrorism, and put my face on an email and call me white supremacist? Excuse me while I don't bend the knee to you. You can put me in a gulag, okay? You can lock me away. You can kill me if you want. You could silence me. You could deplatform me. You could definance me, dehumanize me. I don't care. I've lost everything already, and I'm going to go in there on Monday with a smile on my face.
It's been a pretty nice interview, and it's been a pleasure for us having you here, hablar contigo, que cuentes tu historia, que las personas conozcan un poco más sobre los Proud Boys, qué son, qué representan, y también es importante tener otro ángulo de las situaciones, porque estamos viviendo en un mundo donde los medios de comunicación son los que tienen el verdadero poder. No estamos hablando que el poder lo tengan ni siquiera los presidentes, ni siquiera los políticos. Es the media la que está ahora mismo manejando la opinión pública, la que te está diciendo por quién tienes que votar,
¿Qué
si te tienes que vacunar o no te tienes que vacunar, si te tienes que poner una máscara o no, qué tienes que ver, quién es el bueno, quién es el malo. Eso es importante que tú sabes, que nos informemos y busquemos información sobre las cosas. Algo que quieras decir before you go, because like I said on Monday, right? On Monday
Monday I turn myself on.
Exactamente. Algo que quisiera decir, algún mensaje para las miles de personas que te están mirando.
To those people, I'd like to say that, you know, after this conversation, or maybe the things that I said, maybe you just don't like me, and I'm okay with that. We're supposed to disagree with each other. But this polarization that we have needs to get solved, because the media and the government is pushing for this. And something that makes me happy is that even the Black Lives Matter movement, as much as I disagree with almost everything they say, the message behind police brutality is a just one. And they're seeing a problem with their government, and they're speaking out against it. We're doing the same thing. When we figure out that there's a common problem to fix, and there's multiple ways to fix that, not, without violence or anything like that, we could take over local seats. We as a people, when we unite and we see that the common issue that we have in this country is the people that we've put in office that don't care about us, and we need to start putting, that's when the government's going to fear the people. Because when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. But when the government fear the people, there's liberty. And I don't want them to fear us in the way that people would make this out to be. I want them to fear us because of the power that we hold when we unite. Left and right, let's put these differences aside, and let's at least say, we agree on this, let's fight this fight together. And that's the only thing that gives me hope. And I hope that you guys listen to this, get involved in your local school boards, come out there with the old people, on Bird Road on Saturdays and Sundays.
Tropical Park.
Yeah. So, and if you see any of us around, just ask, come around and ask me the questions that you want to ask. I'm approachable. I'm not a violent dude. I'm not a big dude. Yeah. Like you guys said, I'm not a 5 foot, like a 6'7", tall, bulky dude. I'm not that scary.
Es un cubano como cualquier otro aquí en Miami.
Bueno, señores, nada, somos los Pichy Boys. Le agradecemos a Enrique Tarrio, ¿verdad?
Tarrio.
Enrique Tarrio.
As long as you don't say Tarrio.
Mientras digamos Tarrio está bien.
Right. Turn off the cameras.
Oye,
it's time to get down.
When you get off, we want to see you here again at the show.
Yeah,
queremos
definitely.
entrevistarte, hablar contigo, tú sabes, y hopefully we can have una entrevista más jodedora como somos los Pichy Boys.
Yeah.
Okay, así que nada, hermano.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Muchas
Again,
gracias.
you're very brave for having me on. Thank you guys.
Nada, señores, somos los Pichy Boys. Estén pendientes a otra transmisión de nuestro podcast. Los queremos, cuídense.